Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back for a talking tactics special with our favourite football data expert, Gareth. I haven't seen you for such a long time. I know we just caught up backstage, but how are you doing, mate? It's a
Yeah,
long
doing all
time
right,
no
mate.
see.
Yeah, doing all right. Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, busy time of year, I suppose. Being the summer and that, but yeah, doing all right.
I know, mate. I know. And when we were talking about this show, I was hoping that we'd have well, not only have at the time of recording Pau Torres announced. I know it's been going on for weeks now, and it's done and it's signed. And Fabrizio Romano said, "Don't worry about it, Villa fans," but he's still not holding that Villa shirt. And also, I was hoping to have maybe two or three other signings to talk about. Is it a quiet? Is it a slow burner, or are we just football fans now, just obsessed with transfers?
Yeah, I think probably the latter in it, really. I think we should all know as Villa fans how they tend to operate at the club and being involved in the past. I know it's a slow process. It's just the way it is. It might seem that way to us from the outside, but on the inside, things are probably more than likely moving on. But players are just starting to come back. Some have been delayed because of holidays or honeymoons, etc., etc. So, yeah, it won't be too long, I wouldn't have thought, because he'll want people in place ready for America, I think.
Yeah. Quick bit of housekeeping. I am again locked in my son's bedroom. It's not the shed. So just in case you're worrying where I am, everyone watching, and also, as I said, the previous videos, we are on the road to 2K. We're over 1,900 subscribers. This one says 1,800 plus, but we are over 1,900. I think we need about 75 more subscribers to reach 2K. So you'd be doing us a huge favor if you could like the video and please do subscribe to the channel. And if you want to join the channel and become an official Villa Park Pod follower for just $1.99 a month, then please do just hit the join button and yeah, become part of the Villa Park Pod family. So Gareth, couple of signing or one definite signing we have made is Youri Tielemans. Here he was in his Leicester gear. He's holding the shirt up here though as an official Villa player. Um, so yeah, I wanted to get you on a bit of a talking tactics special to kind of talk around what he'll bring, what you think he'll bring to Villa in terms of a midfield that we've been missing that Youri Tielemans can bring.
Yeah, obviously, I like to see players signed from a fan's perspective who they will know very well. I think that always helps and stops that sort of sense of, oh, will he or won't he be any good for us? I think we all know that, World Cup player, international, seasoned EPL player. So we know what we're going to get with Tielemans, box to box midfielder. And I think we have missed a little bit of that. We have got sort of the Douglas Luiz sort of role, but we're missing that sort of really that box to box, a similar sort of profile to McGinn, maybe some might say, but a different style of player. But yeah, I think that's what we miss, is sort of like that box to box sort of thing in midfield, really.
Yeah, and you've got your wheel here. What I always forget what we call this.
Radar, mate.
Radar. There we go. We've got your radar. So, you've looked at his strengths there: long range shooting, creative passing, defensive output, and that box to box, like you said. Now, when I've kind of done my little, layman's terms profiles of players, that long range shooting, when you're watching as a Villa fan, it's something that we don't do enough. Now, surely that's got to be a big plus in there, for someone that he's going to bring into the club.
Exactly. Yeah. And when we're looking at player profiles, we're always sort of looking to try and bring someone into a squad who, what we have, what can they fulfill, what have they got that we haven't got at the moment that could aid us moving forward, sort of thing. And I think Tielemans does that. You're right, we don't shoot a lot out, sort of. In fact, we barely ever see it, do we? Apart from
No.
long range free kicks or whatever, we barely ever see it. So yeah, definitely. And I think that long range passing from me, from left to right, from right to left, out to the flanks, is really going to help us as well when it comes to sort of, looking at sort of advancing fullbacks. We really sort of need that in that midfield. So I do wonder how he will fit in. I don't, in a 4-4-2, but that means somebody is going to have to be left out. And, who is that person? My feeling is it's possibly McGinn. I don't
Mm.
know. but you would think that, being a captain, it's really difficult to leave him out, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. But yeah, we really need that sort of, like I say, that box to box, what he can do. And especially being playing in a system where he's played in a four in midfield, he knows the system, he knows the role, what he has to do. And I think that's really important. But again, when we're looking at similarity models and profiles and things like that, we're looking to try and match that as best as we can.
Yeah, yeah. One thing there in the weaknesses you've put, fouls. I think ball carrying is maybe one that we're not maybe expecting him to do as much. We've got ball carriers in that midfield, particularly Jacob Ramsey, that kind of thing. But the fouls element, is that something that you watch over, or is that something that we maybe need a little bit of nastiness in that midfield?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's just the fact that he sort of more fouls than not. And what we have to remember here as well is that, and I've got another radar that was on the recruitment plan. That's why this wasn't in the recruitment plan, because by the time I got it out, he'd already obviously signed early on.
Yeah,
So what we're looking for is, yeah, he does commit a few fouls and everything, but we have to remember this was in a really struggling Leicester side in 2022-23. I've got a comparison radar from the year before, where he was a lot better. So even though that long range passing said it's a weakness, yes, it was a weakness, but in 2022-2023, not in the year before. And that's why I suggested that's why we have to look at sort of certain years. You don't just look at 1 year, because
yeah,
it's different. Like we were looking at Southampton players, we can dismiss sort of James Ward-Prowse and Kyle Walker-Peters, but they're quality players. They're just in a poor side, unfortunately, and the data reflects that.
yeah, yeah. And one more bit on him as well. The ball recoveries stand out to me. That's a good element. Now again, maybe in a poor Leicester side, he's got to do quite a bit of work, winning the ball back. But that's still a good sign that you're getting quite an all-round midfielder who, Tielemans has had quite a lot, I suppose, thrown at him that he was, overweight and didn't work hard enough or that kind of thing. But that doesn't suggest that he's not prepared to put his foot in and do a bit of the dirty work.
No, it doesn't. And like I said, we go back to what I've just said. In that struggling Leicester side, he was having to do more defensive work than he was sort of, and you could see it on his face a lot of the time. And a lot of the Leicester players' shoulders were dropping a lot quite early on in games, and they shouldn't, but they did. And that's just why over the course of a season you get a bit worn down with it, I think. But yeah, this is what we need. I can probably see him maybe in a 4-2-3-1 alongside Kamara, for instance, in that double pivot in midfield. That then means that Luiz or McGinn again is left out again, or maybe possibly Buendia. So it'd be interesting to see how it fits in. But we have to remember we're going to be playing a lot of games this season.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and hopefully, we get through that playoff round, and we've got European games, we've got the cup games if we do a bit better in those. So yeah, 100% agreed. So just your kind of overall verdict on Tielemans, is that a good solid signing for the club, particularly getting him on a free, so to speak?
Yeah, free transfer. We always look at free transfers and who's available, and if they're quality players on a free transfer, what can you say? Belgian international, as I said, he's worth having in your side. He's for me a very good sign, especially on a free.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Now, the second player that by all accounts, is done and dusted. He's just waiting to kind of have his official photograph taken in the shirt. Is the player that is Pau Torres, and basically this is the if we're led to believe this is the main target that Unai Emery wanted. Before we get his radar diagram to show everyone, your kind of thoughts on Pau Torres, what he could bring, why Emery was so kind of keen to have him.
Yeah, interesting signing really in a lot of aspects, because we've got sort of four centre backs if you include Chambers in that already at the club. So it will be interesting again, like I've said with the others, to see where he does fit in. Does he leave Tyrone Mings out, for example? I don't know. I think I have reservations. I've got to say that, I think fans should have reservations about him. He's a good player on the ball. Off it, can be a little bit invaried, not so great in the air. Sort of can be a bit reserved in his aerial ability, really. But yeah, I mean, and again, a proven sort of Spanish international shouldn't be dismissed. And I'm not dismissing him at all, saying he's a poor player, because he's not. But yeah, slight reservations in some aspects, maybe.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely fair enough. I think Villa fans will share some of those slight, not concerns, so to speak, but just obviously he's Emery's man. We trust Emery in whatever he wants to do it, particularly at the moment. But with Mings and Conte doing so well, was it an area that we really needed? Massively strengthening with Diego Carlos being there. But I guess when you look at kind of the statistics in terms of passing, and his kind of comfort in those areas, and the way that Emery wants to play, it's obvious what he's wanting him to bring to the club.
Yeah, this is the primary reason, in my opinion, why he was signed. And we can see there on the pluses, like I said, he excels in the first phase of the build-up. And this is why he was brought into the club. Yes, for defensive ability, of course, because he's a centre half, but more for the first phase of the build-up play. And this is how you've nailed it. This is how he wants to play. He's able to step into midfield with the ball, Torres. And so therefore this is exactly why he was recruited.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that then when we're talking about players who he's going to be paired up with, if Torres is going to be that main passer of the ball and the ball carrier, that lends itself to him potentially not replacing Mings, because Mings is usually the one who engages with the first contact, makes the header, wins the header, etc., etc. So could we see like two left-footed centre backs playing?
I don't think so. I've got to say, I think, if anything, I think he will replace Tyrone Mings. But I think it's more to do with the fact that we're going to be playing European football. So you're going to be looking
Yeah,
and coming across different caliber of opponents, wise old heads, wise European coaches. And I think we're going to see more of a Pau Torres, Diego Carlos kind of set up possibly in Europe. And we might see something like Mings and Carlos, for instance, in the Premier League, and then in cup games you might see more of a concert kind of Chambers Mings kind of combination. So we don't know. I
yeah,
can't see a back three. So
no.
it's really a quandary. But I take your point. Will we see two left footers? I don't know. I don't think so. It's my personal thought.
No, that's fair enough. It's just I think I can't remember who made the point. It might have been Rich. I think Rich from the podcast made the point to me that we don't like get surprised at two right-footed centre backs playing together, but we do kind of get quite surprised if it's two left-footed centre backs playing together. Um, but yeah, who knows? Who knows what he's going to do? I guess we'll know over the pre-season, which I'm sure we'll try all the different combinations, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's go on.
Sorry, no, sorry, got it. Yeah, I mean, it is a fair point. I will take that point. The two right. The difference is that when you're playing in a back four, is quite different to when you're playing in a back three.
Yes.
You can afford to have sort of two left-footed centre backs and one right-footed because you've got that three. But in that four, you're always looking to the right back. Essentially, the right centre back is looking to usually play out to the right, and the left is playing
Yeah.
to the left. So that makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, it is a fair point.
Yeah, yeah. It's just going to be like you said, it's going to be really interesting to see. Does he start the first game of the season with Konsa and Mings, who've done them so well? Again, the European option I think is a massive point because um, a Carlos and Torres may be more comfortable on the ball, that kind of stuff. But also in the Premier League, that physicality of the Premier League, is Pau Torres going to like get used to that straight away? Is he gonna feel the full force of a big centre forward like coming through
Yeah,
him and think,
yeah.
well, that would usually be a foul in La Liga?
Yeah, I think, and I think also, I think it's fair to say we were quite sort of not as, I think we talked about it on the pod before. We weren't very tactically flexible, pardon me, last season. It was always a back four, wasn't it? We didn't see a back three under Emery at all. It was just a back four. And so I think we need to be that little bit more flexible. We might need to play three at the back against wing backs in European football, especially. So we need to be a little bit more flexible. And I think that he does give that at the back.
Yeah, yeah. And you've got here a comparison here with Torres to Mings. Um, and what did this kind of stick out to you, that kind of main points between the two?
Yeah, we know that Tyrone Mings is sort of that man in the box that doesn't mark people. He is that main target. He is that clearer of the ball. He is that first line of defence, and that remains to me is that is a vital component of why he will probably stay in the side for a great deal of it. I would imagine because set pieces are a big thing, as we know. But yeah, what sort of come out to me is that you can clearly see that sort of Torres is more of a ball progressor. You know, he's more of that. He's more adept at that phase of play where with the ball at his feet. Off the ball, Mings is that little bit more of a sort of an old school centre half, if you like, more that. And
Yeah.
Torres is not. Torres more of a new school centre half, if you like, and more in the mould of someone like Mark Gay, who we can see there on the similarity model and things like that. And Alexandra, players like that who are a little bit more sort of a bit more modern in the way that they play.
Yeah, fantastic analysis. Really, really, really good stuff, mate. Um, just in terms of again your kind of overall thought then with Torres, I'm sure it's going to be announced today, tomorrow. You did indicate there's a little bit of a surprising one, but overall thoughts on him as a player? Do you think he's going to be really valuable for Villa?
Yeah, I think he should be. Yeah, I just worry about sort of how he fits, and I think we're all a little bit worried about when new players come in. Do we take a good player, the in Tyrone Mings, who progressed the second half of the season was fantastic for him? You know, do we then take him out of the side? Does his confidence then suffer because we've seen that happen before? You know, when he's been in and out of the side, especially for England and stuff like that. So yeah, good signing for me. Where he fits in, I don't know, but it wasn't a priority position for us as fans, I don't think. But who are we to judge?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Now, finally, one player, and I have covered him in my little transfer sort of rumor show, but to get your kind of expert opinion is Musa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen. Seems to have had a real good time there, over 100 games. I think it's like 25 to 30 goals over there as well. Looks a real threatening player, French international. Again, your kind of thoughts. Is it a concrete rumor? There's the allegedly we've put a bid in for him. From on the grapevine, is he a concrete rumor for you for Villa? Have we got real interest in him?
Yeah, from what I know, yes. From what I know, I think he is. Whether a bid's gone in, I don't know that much, but I know they were very interested in him. Played a lot of minutes last season. I think 41 point something 90s, you know, in the Europa League, the Champions League, and in the Bundesliga, of course. And right-sided attacking midfielder can play on the right. You know, can also play up front and can play on the right of a midfield three in our 4-2-3-1. So again, fits that similarity style of play that we like to use. Emery likes to use. Yeah, decent rumor to be fair, and you know what's not to like.
Yeah, 100%. And you've got his diagram here. What are you kind of looking at in terms of his strengths there? Obviously shots on target is looking good, and yeah, looks a real kind of threatening player. To be fair,
Yeah, knocked this up real quick this morning, so apologies for the way it looked. But
that's fine.
it's one of those sort of players. Yeah, he's a direct attacking sort of almost a Leon Bailey type mold sort of player, if you like, with the ball at his feet. That sort of similarity in the way that he plays, but you know, not identical, obviously. But yeah, offensive threat, real offensive threat. Doesn't necessarily track back enough for me, but you know, it's a kind of a sort of a two-way thing, I guess. But yeah, a real offensive threat for me, and really good with the ball at his feet. Plays off the right hand side, but I was obviously a left-footed player, so you know, kind of almost like a Harvey Barnes type situation on
Hmm.
that, the
Hmm.
way that he plays off of the inverted winger type thing. So with Barnes probably not in the picture anymore, this is probably the best you're going to be. Yeah, the next best thing, if you like.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. Now, couple of final questions on him. Would you suggest that he's shopping in the Villa sort of territory, or are we potentially expecting like Champions League level clubs coming in for him? Like, is he a realistic option for us?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you've got to understand that a lot of players, even to play in the Premier League, is with whoever is a big sort of achievement and one of their goals are for a lot of players. So I think, yeah, for him to come, you know, there will be bigger clubs in for him. I don't think that's without a doubt. But yeah, there's every chance.
Brilliant. And obviously, then that leads to the next part where I think Tom Colomassi, who's been on the pod a few times, has mentioned in his article that Leon Bailey is potentially one that is potentially up for sale. Um, But for me, it would be a player like Diaby should be coming in to complement or to add to the attacking options, not necessarily to replace one of the only attacking options that we've got. and hopefully add competition. I mean, what would your thoughts be on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Leon Bailey will want to play second fiddle to anyone, judging by, sort of the way him and his dad go about their business, if you
Yeah.
like. Quite seeing him sort of not. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, it's a tricky one. I'm disappointed personally that Harvey Barnes may not be in the picture, because I think he would have fitted the 4-4-2 better than what Diaby would have done. Now,
Yeah.
the caliber and quality of players, but for me, for the similarity and the way we like to play, I think that really would have been sort of a decent. I mean, it might not be dead in the water. I don't know, but
No, I don't actually think any official
no.
bids have been made. So yeah, we could be looking at potentially going back in for him. All the the I guess the pressure from Newcastle, or the kind of story, has been like pushing it that they're discussing terms. But he lives in the Midlands. His family are from around the Midlands. It would make a lot of sense that if we were kind of just watching and see how the land lay, and then put that bid in, down the line. Who
Yeah,
knows? But
yeah, exactly. I don't think he's got much left on his contract either. So you're not going to looking at sort of paying full beans for him, if you like. And I think we've looked at a lot of these other players like Goncalves, for instance, and and a lot of players like that. And for me, Goncalves was the primary target for me. That was the one that we really should have tried to get hold of, alongside probably Jonathan David up front. I think that money would have been sort of better spent in attacking areas as opposed to defensive one. I think a new right back is another one that probably for me, that's why the recruitment plan was done the way it was: a right back, an attacking midfielder, and another centre forward, and maybe a left-sided midfielder. For me, was
yeah,
probably the way
yeah,
to go.
yeah. Well, we'll wait and see. Hopefully, we get this attacking player in. Hopefully, there's more to come, but we will get you on to go through in detail that recruitment plan, because it looks fantastic. We will get that done in the next week or two. But Gareth, once again, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll be back later on in the season for more talking tactics specials on what we think the players that we're hopefully going to sign are going to bring. Um, Again, where can people find you, mate, and get a copy of the recruitment plan as well?
Yeah, you can find me at that Garate JC, and the recruitment plans on the profile. But any questions that we want sort of addressing for similarity stuff and players coming in, just give me a shout on the DM and we'll try and address them.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, please, as always, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for your support. We are on the road to 2K, as I said at the start. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like it, so we spread the word of the channel. Once again, Gareth, thank you so much for joining, mate. It's great to see you again. I'm sure we'll be back in the coming weeks as well to discuss more players, more signings, and more excitement at Villa. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we'll follow Villa.